Well, let's talk a little bit more about dialogue and what a good conversation looks like. And specifically, I'm curious on what does a productive disagreement look like? Right. And I feel like the phrase we can agree to disagree is one of those like lost gems of a phrase that no one really uses anymore, but it's
Yeah.
such a like reasonable thing where it suggests that we can accept that we have a difference in opinion, and that's totally fine. We can agree to disagree, right? And so I'm curious if people are in a conversation, if you're in a conversation with someone about a charged political issue where you're not going to see eye to eye, you're not going to arrive at the same conclusion. What does a productive conversation look like in that context, in spite of the disagreement?
So this is a great question because I read a book and I'm pretty sure I've told you about it. I tell everybody about this book, The Humble Inquiry by Edgar Shane. And he talks about and he teaches the way of communicating through humble inquiry, of just asking, not telling. And the way he does it, the premise of the book seems simple, but when he goes into it in the book, he dives into the sociological aspects of it, especially it's a very American thing to get in a conversation and immediately start telling the other person about yourself and your interests, or telling them about themselves and their interests, and instead of using inquiry to let that naturally drive the momentum of the conversation. And I think that in my experience, I have found that using that in conflict, especially or in communication when you have two people that disagree with each other, is paramount. It's if I'm asking you questions, just because I disagree with you, so I got two options. I can either or I got a few options. I can either try and convince you that I'm right. I can try and convince you that you're wrong. I can argue with you for the sake of making myself feel better, or I can ask questions and help myself understand where you're coming from and show you at the same time that, like, I don't agree with this, but I'm still curious. That genuine, real curiosity of like shifting your posture around winning and getting to a point where you're just like, you know what? I don't agree with any of that, but I am curious as to why. Why do you feel that? How did you come to, you know, you know, agree with this or understand it, or how did you come to this decision that this is what you believe in, or what is it about this? Something genuine, something real, and let that drive you instead of the irritation that that person is wrong, or the belief that that person is wrong. Like, I don't need to prove anybody wrong because I'm comfortable standing in what I believe. And that's a luxury that I have that a lot of people don't. So giving people the tool to be able to stop in a conversation and say, like, you know what, I'm seeing that me and this person don't agree with each other, but I don't want it to devolve into a conflict. I don't want it to devolve into aggression. Let me figure out how we're different, why we're different. And in doing that, a lot of times you figure out the ways that you're alike. And that's a beautiful thing too. And I, like I said, when I was dating an Antifa girl, we initially met online, and she told me her background, and I told her my background, and we kind of like there was like a 6 hour pause, and I was like, "So you want to go out?" And she's like, "Yeah, you know what? Why not?" And we went out, and there was this like apprehension on both our sides about like, I could tell she was worried that I was going to judge her and, think I was better than her. And I thought that, she was going to do the same to me. But I also went in with just like, I'm not losing anything here by not agreeing with what this person believes and them not agreeing with me. It doesn't take anything away from me. And getting people to understand that, like, it doesn't take anything away from you because that person doesn't agree with you, or that you have different ideologies and beliefs. And that's what I went in with. And I just was like, all right, let me find some common ground. And we did. And we bonded over, we both enjoyed a good glass of whiskey, and and that was it. And we took off from there, and we didn't start with the negatives, the things that we didn't agree with. We found something that we did agree with, and agree on and went from there. And I think the humble inquiry is just that finding and asking genuine questions of the other person, of their stance, and using that to drive forward. I think that's what a good dialogue looks like uh, between two people that don't agree, or two groups that don't agree.
I've always joked that I would make millions of dollars designing a dating app called Love Across the Aisle. The entire idea would be to hook up with people who are ideologically opposed to you, right? So the idea would be that you open your dating app and then you input all of your ideological and political positions, and then the algorithm will pair you up with whoever is diametrically opposed to all of that, and then have fun.
Yeah, yeah. At the very least, you're getting some interesting conversations out of it, But you might have to edit that out. That's a good idea. So you might have to cut that and then just save it for yourself, because that's a pretty good idea. And it is the difference is, to me, like it's cool. It's great being around a homogenous group of people that you share ideals with and interests and whatnot. But it's also equally interesting, if not more interesting, to be in a group of people or around someone who does things completely opposite of you. I like being outside my comfort zone. And so for me, being around someone that drives me to step outside that box of mine, it's fun.